This is Off Track.
What's up?
Hello.
How's it going?
Are you in Mexico or America, Mexico?
You mean like Texaco?
No.
I was going to say, I think we just call that California now. We won it
We
fair
did
and
take
square by kind of stealing it. Not that fair or square.
That was also Texas, if you remember the Alamo. The
what?
No, what?
I don't remember it.
Right. Austin is pretty close to the border. I feel like there's a lot of Mexican influence there.
Big influence. No, I am in Mexico. We left Austin. We are now in Mexico. The circus has moved on to the next thing, which is
What? Just because you commentate, you think you're a part of it? That's pretty.
Well, like I traveled with the whole Formula One management group.
Wow.
So I assume for the next couple of races, I'm part of it. I
like to assume that wouldn't you?
This
guy.
Ridiculous.
Wow.
Hey, man.
Talks about 3 races and all of a sudden part of the circus.
You're true.
Talks about 2 races.
Sorry, we're doing a
Not
throwback
even on
here.
the main broadcast, like on the like peasant streaming service.
Hang on a minute. Our broadcast is what F1 owns and puts out.
I know.
You're watching the British broadcast.
I know. Actually, I'm not watching any of it. I didn't
Well-
watch any of the race. I have no idea about anything, to be honest.
You're
with
the
you.
worst. You're the worst guy to have these conversations with.
At least
The
there's
worst.
other racing to talk about.
Well, there was a NASCAR race, but I also didn't watch that. I think Joey Logano won. Congrats to him.
I do know that there was a lot of controversy around that because he didn't win, and whoever won,
didn't?
I don't know who it was, got thrown out, and so he got promoted to the win, and thus advances to the championship 4 because
Was it Bowman? I feel like I read a quote about
I don't
Bowman
know.
throwing his phone in a pool.
I don't know. Anyways,
So was it Joey though? Am I getting that right? Because
Joey did win, and he's now in the championship 4. But like the whole people are upset because Joey's had like only 4 top 5s this year or something, and
Wow.
because of this like kind of fluke that I'm not saying that cheating should be allowed, but kind of this fluke that happened, he goes into the championship contention without like, I don't know. That's the whole thing with the playoffs. That's why it's cool, but also annoying.
Underdogs win. Like that's.
Yes.
You know what's funny? This is exactly why the playoffs were created in NASCAR in the first place. Was that guy win the championship
he's the
after
wild
only
card.
winning one race?
He's the wild
Yeah.
card, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So suck it up.
But we don't care. Let's talk about F1 because that's more relevant to us because you're a part of the circus.
I am. Well, now I'm part of the circus. Okay. All right. It's a quick 180 you just pulled. I'm
Self-
also going to apologize.
self-proclaimed.
I'm also going to apologize for the noise in the background. We've kind of taken an off-track throwback here by, it's not quite a Panera sandwich, but for those that have listened since the beginning, know that I used to always eat during this time. Our recording time today got swapped, and it got swapped square into my lunchtime, into my lunch hour, and I have a busy day. And so, aww.
Alex just holding up pictures of his cute dog.
No, but isn't that funny? Like his little paws are up.
I know. Lucy always sleeps with her like back paws up on the wall. It's weird. Anyway, so yeah, I'm crunching some lunch. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so before we started recording, Tim did his customary, do we have anything to go over? To which James said, did you watch the F1 race? To which I said, no, I was busy being a minister, and so I missed it. But you had us pull up a clip from the F1 Instagram of the incident that I guess there's a lot of controversy around regarding Max and Lando.
I feel
So
like
why don't you
first
give
we
us
should
the
talk about
backstory?
what we. No, I feel like we should talk first about what we both noted, or all three noticed. They post a lot on Instagram. Like,
Yeah,
I know IndyCar doesn't post enough, but I feel like they post too much.
I mean, that's what drives engagement in the algorithm, dude.
That's a lot, though. Like, it took us a minute to find that video.
No, I know, but every post gets 500,000 likes, so it's clearly working.
Likes on. Gotta
Gotta get that Netflix. Gotta get that
get
Netflix set up.
that young Netflix program. At least they also have an Apple TV movie starring Brad Pitt coming out.
Who's he?
So
What has he ever done?
And Apple, those young upstarts.
don't invest. They'll never go anywhere. They'll never amount to anything. On that note, So Austin in general, I know you didn't watch it, but in general, it was very good. It's always very good. The event there is awesome, as you know.
No, but I would argue that the race is usually pretty crap.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Although it seems like with this generation of car, passing is a little bit easier than like in years gone by. But like, it was a sprint format this weekend, a sprint race, which is exhausting. Those weekends are like insane.
Yeah.
But in the sprint race, we actually saw like a ton of action, and so we're cautiously optimistic that it was going to be a good race.
Okay.
And it was, just not really at the front.
Nice. That's what everyone wants.
Fine. So in qualifying, Russell turfed it on everybody's second run in Q3. So like nobody got to do their best lap, and it was all down to the first run laps, and everybody was going faster. So like, nobody knows what it would have been, but Lando got pole. Max was second, and the two Ferraris were third and fourth. And into turn one, Max just maxed to the max and like chucked it up the inside. Like Lando left barely one car, and you know that turn, right? Like it's a very sharp corner to make from like the outside of the track. Lando was like, all right, I'm just going to go down as far, like there's no way a person would try to go on the inside here. But forgetting that there's not a person in the Red Bull, there's Max, and he just stoved it in there, drove them both completely off the track on the exit, and then Leclerc and Sainz were just like, thank you, and just swooped up. Well, no, Leclerc got by both from third, and Sainz got by Lando, not Max, got Max in the pit stop. Ferrari's ran off with a 1-2, like dominated.
Okay.
Incredible tire dag, great. So Lando and Max were battling. And in the sprint, Max he won the sprint. Lando had pretty bad dag, so it wasn't looking like it was going to go his way. But they went for that overcut that he's been so good at this year. So one stop, but he just ran super long in the first stint and then had newer tires at the end. Chewed him up, ran him down, and then spent 4 laps just like throwing it on the outside of every brake zone trying to make a pass happen. It was really, really good until like 3 laps from the end or whatever, this incident happens, which you watched. And Alex, give me your take.
Now that I know
Like,
a little
explain what it is.
now I know a little bit of the backstory. Like, I'm wondering, was there a bit of not prejudice, but predetermined ideas? Was Lando being at times with like driving standards around Max? Because you know how if there's like a lot of corners that go on and it's between two guys and like finally there's a penalty to come, like whoever has been the bigger dick for the majority of the time kind of gets it.
Right. So, yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Let's first just reiterate what actually happened.
Sure. Well, why don't you're the guy that watched it live.
Yeah.
Why don't you
Okay.
talk about what happened?
So end of the back straight into turn 12, it's a tight, like more than 90-degree,
Very tight.
like slow corner.
Very slow corner, yeah.
And it's always like an issue of track limits there because it is tight. But there's like enough
It's
pavement
like
runoff,
decreasing radius on the exit.
Yeah, right. So, and it's like downhill, brake zone slightly, and all this stuff. So anyway, Max was doing a great job defending, and Lando was very clearly quicker. And he tried to go around the outside into that turn the lap before, couldn't get it done. I think maybe 2 laps in a row. So on this lap, had a great run, had DRS. He tried to just go so deep around the outside that either Max was going to be sort of forced to just accept that he was there and give him some room, or maybe he was hoping that Max was just going to completely overshoot it and he could just stand on the brakes and over under him. I don't know. But he tried to hang around the outside. Max pushed him off. Max also went off, and by off, I mean what F1 and FIA consider
4 wheels over a white line.
Right? Yep. So he was no longer on the racing surface. Neither was Lando. Lando's feeling was that he'd been forced off, so he kept his foot in it and completed the pass basically off track. Max's belief was, well, they both went off, but that means it's kind of like evensies, and you can't pass off track, so he's got to give the spot back. And there was a really interesting conversation on the radio with the McLaren guys where Lando was basically like, do I have to give this spot back? And the McLaren team were like, no, we think you were ahead at the apex, which is per F1's like driving standards, guidelines, stewarding, rule book, whatever. That's one of the key things. Whoever's front axle is ahead at the apex has the right to the corner. And so if you're on the inside and your front is ahead at the apex, you are actually not required to give any room to the guy on the exit. If you're behind, then yeah, you've got to at least give him enough to keep two wheels on the track, kind of thing. So Max did a great job of rolling off the brake, and it was clear as day on the broadcast, man. Like at the apex, Max was ahead. And so what crack McLaren was smoking, I do not know. And even Lando on the cooldown lap was like, so Lando ends up getting a penalty because he does not give the spot back. And on the cooldown lap, he's like, guess we should have given that spot back, huh? And he did a good job of not throwing the team under the bus, but the team should be living under the bus right now for that call, because even if it was remotely questionable whether or not he was going to get a penalty, because that was also Lando's fourth time doing track limits, which could potentially lead to a penalty. He did stay in front, and then into turn one that next lap, so like 5 corners later, did the most blatant illegal block the most reactive block I have ever seen in Formula One. And I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter because he's going to get a penalty for that. Anyway, so they give him the penalty for passing off track. But I just think the McLaren, he was so much faster. He still had 3 laps to try to make a pass. Let it go and try again.
I agree with all of those statements. And what I will say with my limited knowledge based on the video that I've seen and what I just heard from you is Lando is dealing with someone in a championship fight who knows every single letter and unspoken letter of the law of the FIA rulebook, knows how they officiate races based on previous experience, whether that involved him or not, and took advantage of it. 100%. Because he knew that he had to be ahead at the apex. He knows that you can't pass off track. He knew that if he was ahead at the apex, he technically kind of has a right to push him out. And the fact that he went a couple wheels over the white line, yes, while that is a track limits penalty, it's kind of a secondary penalty to overtaking off track. And the fact that Lando had gone off track several times before. Anyways, Max was like, it, try me again. So like, I think that's just someone who's being very intelligent behind the wheel of a race car, knowing that he has a slower car, knowing that he was able to force Lando out of position at the start, even though he was on pole, because it was worth it to him to sacrifice potentially giving up a spot to Charles, because he doesn't care about winning at this point. All he has to do is beat Lando. So he will finish 6th from 2nd as long as Lando's 7th, and he will do whatever he needs to. So Lando, if he wants to have a shot at this, he's got to be smarter, and he's got to outthink Max, because whether or not you agree with the FIA, that's irrelevant. The FIA is always going to make the decision, not the drivers or the teams, and Max is playing the FIA to his advantage, and that's part of it.
And that's the thing. Like, I can see in the moment Lando not knowing who's ahead at the apex and then having a case for it. And so I'm putting this way more on the team than on him.
Sure.
He was asking.
I'm not saying Lando did anything wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying that like Max is driving very intelligently.
This is what I said in the post-race show, because it's so wild. So in turn one of the race, right, he pushed Lando off. And so everyone kind of thought, almost because of that, the FIA would like be a little bit more lenient on the turn 12 thing. But here's the thing. If you watch the video in turn one, he kept his wheels just inside. And because in that case, Max was the passing car. And this is where it all gets, like, because everyone's like, oh, well, Max didn't get a penalty for turn one. I'm like, here's the deal. Max was passing, so his responsibility's on him. Ahead at the apex, fine. He's got to keep his car on track. He kept his wheels, Alex, I'm talking within millimeters of going offline. And look, he lost a spot because of it, but he got ahead of Lando. To your point, he knew exactly what he was doing. When he was the defending car, he knew that all he had to do was get off the brake and get to the apex first. And even if he did go off, that penalty, that issue, his is isolated for a track limits thing. That's passing off track. The intellect with which he is driving is incredible. And it just highlights what we've been saying for 3 years. It's not just that he has the best car, because he no longer has the best car. He just is his mental capacity, whilst just like ringing every 100th of a second out of a Formula One car, is shocking and amazing. So the 5-second penalty, Lando ended up pulling out 4 seconds. So the other thing Lando could have done was like done that 2 laps sooner, and then he would have still had the position, which is another reason why these things are all bull. And everybody thinks we should just put gravel on the outside and be done with all this stuff.
Fair.
Because like you look at Austria, they did that at the Red Bull Ring, and there was some incredible side-by-side action into turn, do they call it 2 or 3? Like the second real corner. Is that 3?
It's 3. Yeah.
Like up the hill. And then the next one, the downhill, and then the next left hand. Like there was some amazing.
The double left. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had some great races, like some great side-by-side moments, because there was just more respect when you know you can't just dump a guy.
And the thing is, like, I understand having runoff for high-speed corners. Like, I did see a clip of Lewis's spin in practice or whatever in the S's, and like that's where runoff is amazing. But yeah, for a 160-mile-an-hour corner, that makes sense. We're talking about at the exit of a 55-mile-an-hour corner. Like, it's not, no one's going to get hurt if they go off there, that sort of thing. And arguably, if you had a brake failure, you'd want gravel to help you stop anyway. So, like, I think in some instances, like, there's no reason not to have it in some corners.
No, we're not, because you're not going side by side through those S's.
Right, exactly.
Right? So you don't have to worry about like the track limits issue kind of thing. It's really just corners where that's an issue. And yeah, you're right. Lewis's thing was crazy. Yeah. Man, did they have a bad weekend?
I wouldn't know.
I saw a bit of it. Yeah.
I mean, he just spun out by himself on like lap 6.
Yeah.
After qualifying 19th.
I thought that spin was in practice.
The one in the S's was in practice.
Oh, okay.
He spun out in 19 and
he spun again.
Gravel.
Nice.
All by himself.
That's
and then
very
in qualifying,
un-Lewis-like.
Very un-Lewis. In qualifying, the exact same corner. So they brought updates, right? They brought updates. Friday, they were smoking fast. Like, he could have been on pole for the sprint, but a yellow flag like stopped his lap. They had terrible deg in the sprint race, so they knew they weren't going to be great in the race, but over a lap they were okay. In normal qualifying, Lewis just sucked, was out in Q1, couldn't get the car to work. Russell crashed in Q3, totaled the thing, had to start from the back. So here's the irony. So Lewis has a great start because there was some more chaos in turn 1 further back. He started 19th. Or 20th, maybe 18th, whatever. He was 12th by the end of lap 1.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So, and then six laps in, pitches off in the exact same corner in the exact same spin that Russell had. Okay. So Russell didn't have spares of the upgrades. So Russell had the old spec car, started from pit lane, drove from last back up to 6th, which is where he qualified. Lewis was up to 12th and crashed in the same corner with the upgrades. Methinks maybe the upgrades aren't the best.
It's good to know that F1 teams also can't figure out aero parts.
Dude, it's wild. This year has been insane. Like, it's so hit or miss. But then you get like the Haas guys brought an upgrade package. We're so concerned about that phenomenon that for the sprint, qualifying and sprint race, only one car had it, validated that it was good, and then for the real race, both cars had it, and everything was fine. But it's just, weird deal. Our boy Franco Colapinto got points again from like 17th on the grid in a Williams. This guy's like he's a rock star, man.
Yeah, he's very good. That's not surprising at all. Is it possible? I don't. This might be a stupid question. Is it at all possible for him to like beat Albon in points? Like, because I think there hasn't been a race he hasn't scored yet.
No, that's not
I can't imagine Albon has that many.
He hasn't finished. I was actually looking at this the other day, but I forget what the answer was. It's more than you think. There's further back than you think.
Okay.
Albon is
hilarious.
Albon's on 12, and Franco's on 5.
Oh yeah, that'd be tough.
But we still have two sprint races coming up. Like, it's hard, but it could be done. And Liam Lawson's also pretty good at driving race cars. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
So he came into the weekend, had 60 place grid penalty because they just replaced everything on the car.
Yeah.
And came from last on the grid, essentially. Came from Dallas, like 60 grid place penalty. And drove up to 8th or 9th, like good points again. NRB, beat Sonoda handily.
I will say I've been a little annoyed with F1 and like ESPN on F1 on ESPN and Circuit of the Americas and everything, because the past week and a half has just been stroking Daniel like a lot in the lead up. Like, oh, I can't believe we're going to do a USGP without this guy. Or remember the time when he went and got a cowboy hat and rode a horse into the paddock and all this stuff. And it's like, guys, you didn't die. He didn't perform and he got fired. Like, no, seriously. Like, why are we? He's never won in Austin. Like, he's not American. I don't understand what we're doing here.
I just think there's still a lot of resentment over how his departure played out, right?
But from Formula One themselves? This wasn't
I think
fans.
they're
This was
playing
like
into
official.
I think they're playing into the fan narrative, right?
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
And look, there's a lot of people that work for Formula One as a series that love Dan, right? Like,
I think he's
you know,
great.
you could be-
I'm just saying,
I know,
like,
I know.
people get fired all the time, and there's not freaking weeks of posts about them.
yeah, I think it's just that the overarching fan narrative is that they miss him and that the way it went down was poor. And it's funny, like, we had an argument about this. Not an argument. We had a discussion about this on the weekend where somebody was like really hard on Red Bull, saying like, or RB or whatever, saying like, it's shameful that they didn't announce it before Singapore and this, that, and the other. And I was just like, hey, look, man, you don't know that Dan wasn't given the option of announcing before Singapore and said no, because maybe there was a chance if he went out and podiumed in Singapore, he could keep going. Or maybe if the whole world knew, it would be really distracting and he wouldn't have a good last race and he didn't want to go out on the back of a performance, whatever. The race wasn't great, but you just don't know all the pieces, right? There's a good chance he was involved in that decision, and that's what he wanted. Whether that's what he would do if he could do it over again, different story. Well, you just don't know the details, so it's hard to like get too up on someone.
Yeah. True. 100%.
So yeah, that was Austin.
That's Austin. Mexico will be exciting because young Potato gets to do an FP1 in Mexico finally, which is crazy that this hasn't happened yet. So I'm very excited for him and that opportunity because we all know how big of a deal he is in Mexico. I mean, most of us do.
Not on billboards.
Some don't, but most of us do. And
I'm sure he's on Kit Kat billboards now.
Yeah, I'm pumped for him and the Mexican fan base to be able to witness that because that's every athlete's dream to be able to. I know he's not racing, but to be able to compete in a way at home on the biggest stage, and that's pretty cool for him.
And it's even cooler because like there's something at play here, right? Like McLaren are very much in the manufacturer's battle, the constructor's battle.
Yep.
And Lando's he's still not out of it. It's now looking worse, but he's still not out of the driver's side of it. So it's an important weekend for that team, and you got to go and do a good job on Friday as the driver in FP1. So a bit of pressure, but a bit of responsibility. So that's what a driver wants, right? You want that opportunity to prove you can get it done when the pressure's on. So it will be fun. It's going to be manic. I mean, the place is going to go absolutely nuts. They do every time, like literally every time Checo drives through the stadium section in practice, qualifying, like formation laps, the race, it doesn't matter. The entire place just blows up. So it'll be fun watching that.
Alex, you had a weekend.
And Alex,
I did,
tell us
guys.
about being a minister and marrying an adorable couple.
It was. I don't think there's been a time in my life where I was as nervous as I was in the hour and a half leading up to that.
Didn't I tell you that? Like, it's
I
the
know.
worst feeling in the world. It's the most nerve-wracking feeling.
Yeah. So I had spent a lot of time, writing it, spent a lot of time kind of reading it and working on, comedic pauses. I did take my, what is it? Reverend's, officiant's, outline, and I watched back my wedding ceremony and took a lot of the framework, but I obviously had to put in my own language, which took a lot of time because to write
I have a
1,200
quick
words.
aside. I have a quick aside. When you rewatched the video from your wedding, could you see James and I laughing like in it? Did that make the final cut?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Mission accomplished.
Anyways,
Still feel bad about that, by the way.
I was very cognizant about wanting to do a good job. And so the morning of, like, I was super, I was quiet. We went to watch an IU football game on television,
Hang on.
obviously.
What happened? What happened the night before? Like, was there like a rehearsal dinner?
There was a
anything?
rehearsal. Here was the wild part about the rehearsal. So we got there, and Bish, Steven, had told the wedding planner that I was like stressed about it. So she thought it would be funny if, okay, Alex, you're going to stand here and then we're just going to run through it. And I was like, run through what? And she was like, oh, I just figured you'd want to practice doing the ceremony. I was like, no, I don't want to do that at all. Like that sounds horrible. I'm not at all in a mental place to do such a thing. So anyway,
Were you done writing it at that point?
yes, yeah, I was.
Okay.
But like I didn't have it with me. Like, anyways.
Yeah.
So she just thought it would be funny. I'm glad that we've got up there though, because I was like, the one question that I have is like, how do we want to do the ring exchange, and how do the bride and groom want Deepu to like come up? Do they want him to hand it to me? Do they want him to hand it to Steven or Laura? Deepu was not the ring guy. It was
Deepu the ring bearer?
no, it was Jake's co-best man, or sorry, Steven's co-best man, Jake. So I'm really glad that we had that practice, because that would have been super awkward had I called the wrong guy up. Funny story in that moment.
Deepu would have himself if you called his name and he was like, wait, what?
Well, funny story in that moment. While I did not partake in beverages leading up to the ceremony, everyone else did. And we were apparently a good halfway through my presentation. And Jake looked at Deepu and was like, do you have the rings? And Deepu was like, no, we went over this yesterday. You're doing it. And Jake started laughing because he thought Deepu was joking, to which Deepu was like, I'm not kidding. They had to secretly somehow grab the video guy and we're like, find the rings. We don't have them. And this guy ran away and somehow sourced the rings. I'm not kidding you. I didn't know any of this was going on. And I look over and there's someone like kneeling in front of them as I'm looking at them talking about, okay, it's time for the rings. I didn't know at the time that this was someone handing them said rings. So it was seconds away from it not being okay.
Sorry, I mean, there's so much to unpack there,
yeah.
but let me just start with the fact that their bright idea was to get the videographer to leave the ceremony.
It was
to
the only
get
human
rings?
being that they could get that wasn't sitting.
Are you telling me that there's like now a blank spot in the ceremony for the wedding
it's
video?
okay. It's most of Alex's speech. So
Right.
it's
No,
fine.
no. It's well, I think that the second camera footage will be missing. There was a tripod like at the end of the aisle, so yes, there is one still shot.
There'll
in
be like
terms of,
no cuts
reactions,
for a while.
There'll be no cuts for a while. Yes,
So they're still kind of ruined the wedding video.
a little bit. But here's the wild part that, I mean, if you want to talk about things that were ruined, so we go through the vows. And they just do kind of their traditional for richer, for poor, or whatever, like the normal ones. So Steven does his, and then I turn to Laura and start hers, and she gets one line in. I, Laura, take you, Steven, and two guys in ultralights over the river come and buzz the tower. The tower being us, like
What
at the like
colossal-
podium.
Oh
Like
my!
you're already. I feel like if
God.
you have
And
an
someone-
ultralight, you're already like. I kind of assume you're anyway. Like you're
And so-
until
and
proven
so-
otherwise.
I just paused and looked because like they're so loud, right? There's these massive like Rotax fan motors or whatever. And
Yeah.
everyone kind of just looked and we were all just speechless. And then it was like, okay, I guess we'll continue when they went away. But it was a shame it happened then and not just during a part where I was just talking about whatever. So yes, but other than the rings almost not being there and two ultralights buzzing the tower, I was told that everyone was very happy with how it went. I got quite a few compliments, which made me feel really good about myself. And I vowed that I will never do it again because honestly, it was like I was sick to my stomach. Like it was horrible.
I actually like doing it.
Okay, well, I'll give
Yeah.
your
I
name
just,
next time someone
I
asks
hate
me.
going to events where I'm not the center of attention, so that helps.
Well, so
That makes sense.
people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you
tracks.
talk to people all the time." I was like, "Guys, I'm not worried about being in front of 110 people. I'm terrified that like I'm going to say something that like
you
mildly
screw up
offends them, or
the most
I
important
stumble
day
over
of their
words
life.
that they're going to have this video for the rest of their lives. Like I don't. when I accepted this role, I didn't really think about the consequences. But anyways, it all went well. They had a beautiful wedding. There was a sunset that set over the river in front of like the glass building. And I think everyone had a fantastic time. And I'm very happy for them. And you missed out, James, but you were missed.
I know.
And
I was bummed.
that was the weekend in Kentucky.
So I assume since you couldn't really imbibe before the ceremony that you tried to catch up afterwards.
So what Steven told me that I did is like I tried to catch up.
what he told me that I did.
Well, no,
that's all I need to know.
Oh, you were just me at a wedding, huh?
No, he told me what I did. So much as said, you wanted to catch up, which you did, and then you passed everyone. So you won. I was like, dang.
You forgot to get off at your exit.
Yes, I forgot to get off at the
just-
exit. I mean, I got off at an exit eventually.
Right.
Weirdly
Down the
enough,
road
I
Officiated
tried-
tried.
and got too drunk. You really had the Tim experience at a wedding.
I tried Sonic for the first time. Don't know how they're in business.
Ew. That's wild, eh?
Terrible.
I've never had it. I will never have it.
I never had it either. And I was like, this sounds like a nice idea. It's available. I took one bite of a burger and it was disgusting. Like couldn't eat it.
Yeah.
Like it would actually tasted horrible. Like, but they're building like new, nice facilities. Like I don't understand what they're selling.
That's how you know it's bad is when you have it when you're hammer drunk and it still is just awful.
Yeah.
Which reminds me a lot of my first and only White Castle experience, right, Tim?
We had a great night.
We had a terrible meal.
Hey, like I said, at least it was only the second worst thing that's ever happened to your stomach.
So I have two more Alex stories that I want to share before we can talk about Tim and what he's been up to.
Yeah.
Very little.
We're
caught up.
On Tuesday, well, the three of us might be, but the audience isn't. On Tuesday, I was in the sim, and I was planning on flying down. I was doing the morning block, so I was going to fly down
Where were you
Monday.
sitting?
Well, Charlotte, obviously.
No, sorry. Which track?
Oh, we were kind of just doing a bunch. So we were doing Portland, Detroit. Well, we only got to do those two because the sim was broken for half the time, but whatever.
Nice.
We were just trying to get an understanding of their tire model and their aero model and how that's different from what I'm used to and all these sort of things. Anyways, so it's been beautiful in Indy, like blue skies, 75 degrees, just stunning, right? And so for days like that, when you're flying, even though I know you should, like I'm not going to check the weather because like I can look at it.
You can
and
see
I'm
it,
pretty aware. And then I look at Charlotte and it's blue skies and 78. And I'm like, all right, we're good. So usually in those cases, I don't like get a full briefing, right, on my phone because like it's not going to say anything. Well, I was driving to the airport at 4 p.m. on Thursday because I was like, that's how it goes down. And I was like, I just had this feeling I should get a briefing. And so I put in the information and downloaded it as I was driving and started reading it. And it was like, Charlotte airspace is closed. And I was like, huh. Sure enough, Trump was campaigning in North Carolina and they had shut down all of the airspace until 10:30 p.m. that night. So I was like, well, turned around and went home. And so thankful I checked because if you get that wrong, you get escorted by F-18s very quickly and you get in a whole lot of trouble. So
Yeah, they take that a little seriously.
super seriously. Super
I
seriously.
do kind of wish that had happened, though, because that would be a
I'm really
cooler
glad.
story.
That
Oh,
would be
look at
so
these
funny.
guys trying to get pictures of them. I'm like, check this out.
do you get like points on your pilot's license if you do like
By
flying
points,
into?
it gets removed.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not
It's less
fun.
fun.
Yeah, taken away. Yeah.
Still fun. It's still what
Still
I still would have
Sick
liked.
Yeah.
pics. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do it for the
Sick pics, a
gram.
great story.
Yeah. So that meant I had to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to get down there for an 8 a.m. start time, but that's okay. The other
So
thing.
you didn't opt to fly at night and just like land at 10:30?
That's fair. I didn't think of that. I thought that if I was going to go, I would have to leave after 10. I did fly at night, just in the morning night.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
flew
I guess
dark.
you could have
yeah.
left. You could have left.
I
so
left
you
it
got
like
there at
I could have
10.
left it like
Yeah, like 9:30.
8:45, 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Huh. Anyways,
Next
whatever. That's a very good point. That never even crossed my mind until you just said it. So That's big brain on James. I got an extra night at home. It's all good.
Always a good thing.
So
Always a good thing.
I was asked by IndyCar a couple weeks ago, and this is another plane related thing. They were going to have a merch tent set up at a convention in Indy. And they were like, could you pop by for 30 minutes and sign some die casts and some hero cards and these sort of things? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, gotta keep people happy. I'm local. That's all good. And so what I read was FAA convention. What it actually was the FFA, which I don't know that I knew what that was until 11 o'clock today when I walked in and saw 100,000 children in blue jackets. What a wild scene that is. Do that many people want to be farmers?
They want that many people to think they want to be farmers.
Okay.
Right? So that's like...
Because this was a lot of high school students who were like from all 50 states were represented. I was like...
It's a huge organization.
Okay.
Yeah. So
not as big as the FAA, but
future farmers of America,
FA
for those that don't know.
that get you.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
I feel like I feel like the crossover of people who listen to Off Track and people who know what FFA is pretty much just a circle. Like I feel like
I agree.
that
It's not even a Venn diagram.
Like, we don't
It's
really
just
need to explain this.
I'm just being, but yeah, so it's like an educational program.
Is it like 4-H?
Kids, right?
4-H club? I know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay. Where you like raise a goat and stuff?
I would
Or
think
show
so.
a
I don't know.
pig and-
This might shock you. I was not part of this. I was not part of either organization as a kid.
Because like my family was involved in
Might be
4-H
where
club
things
stuff.
went wrong.
Right.
Yeah, based on your penchant for sleeping in and falling asleep at work, I really don't think farming is necessary.
I have only taken one nap today.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's noon.
Well, yeah.
You slept until 10.
I had to get Hazel to school, and then I was a little tired, so I went back to sleep.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, great kids, very well spoken, all of them, and I was happy to learn what a new thing. A little bummed to not meet some like air traffic controllers and some people from like Boeing and stuff that I imagine would have been there. But anyways.
It's like when you go to a restaurant that you know has a really good meal that you love, and then they don't have that meal, and you're just so disappointed. They have other good food, and you're going to get fed, but it's just not. You just had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
I feel
Tim,
like the FFA would have better food than the FAA.
quite possibly, yeah, grass-fed beef instead of
Yeah.
just government, bureaucracy food,
Instead of government cheese.
yeah.
Government cheese.
Tim, what have you been up to? Have you used your new couch at all? Like, or what's been going on?
I think it's
more
more
than-
comfortable cushions for it. No,
We're not liking the comfort. This is what
interesting.
happens when
I
you
like
buy
it. It was
couches
always
online
a starting point. It was a starting
and
point.
don't.
I'm sorry. So
Sit on it.
Do they make cushions that match that monstrosity,
I mean, you just get cushions that are the right size, right?
but the same color? Or are they is your
black.
couch two-tone?
I could do a two-tone couch. Actually, I don't actually hate that idea.
Oh my god!
Remember, Tim. The point of getting the new couch was to elevate your furniture game. A two-tone couch might be.
Yeah, everybody
a
looks
step
at
in the
that
wrong
two-tone
direction.
Rolls Royce and says, "Look at that piece of that guy's broke." You know?
Yeah, it works on rolls, bro.
Not Amazon Basics couches.
Not so much on Chesterfields.
Yeah,
You know, I got my new setup back here, which I'm liking. Although
I like that. I do like that a lot.
If either of you
is
want to
good.
send a different helmet for there,
I already told you I was going to give you one.
Yeah, I know. But James also told me he was going to give me a Christmas gift from last year, and that hadn't shown up yet. So
Oh my goodness!
What was that?
I don't know. You didn't tell me
Why
what
would
it was.
he know? It was a gift.
I wonder if I bought something and it's just sitting at my house that I forgot about
Probably.
it. That's a very meme. Oh no, I remember what it is. Yeah, I don't have it. I didn't get it.
This year, James.
I totally
this year.
this year.
Yeah, it's coming up.
I just totally forgot to.
Just got one off your list. Christmas shopping's done.
Man,
What a
I gotta
friend.
see. Oh,
Yeah.
man, that's all right. I did say that, and I know exactly what it is, and I still would like to get it. It still works.
Everything's.
Now you can give him a couch.
So I'll give him some cushions. I'll get Becky to pick out some nice cushions for you, because Lord knows she loves buying them. We have
Don't they all? Don't they
far
all?
too many
Yeah.
cushions and pillows. It's like, is there a fact? I don't even want to get into it. Tim, what day is it?
It's Wednesday.
So we're gonna talk again before Halloween, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I did see your Halloween costume. I tried to bring up the picture, but it's actually on Becky's phone, so I don't have it.
Oh
on
no,
me
no,
'cause I
save
wanted to show
that.
Alex.
Save that. It's pretty good.
We'll say that for Halloween.
I tried to call Alex when I had it. I think he didn't. He's busy.
He was probably busy.
He was future farming.
I know that James has been traveling a lot. I have not been at home on the weekend since the weekend after
Milwaukee.
Nashville.
The weekend after, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it.
since mid-September. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's tough, man. I mean, we do it to
off-season,
ourselves. We do it to ourselves. It's
we agree to stuff.
no
and
one to blame but ourselves.
go
but
places.
Here we are.
Yeah. So funny story. Becky has been harboring this desire to just move to Montana. I think she just saw Yellowstone and just fell in love with the idea.
I feel like that'd be convenient for you.
Guys, I haven't been home since over the weekend since before St. Louis. I removed my McLaren calendar from it. So it's been since August 10th. Anyways, go ahead. So Becky wants to go to Montana.
She wants to move there.
Oh yeah. Why wouldn't you go to Wyoming, which is
super
tax free?
convenient. You have all your friends in Montana, and it's a hub for IndyCar, so I get it.
Correct. Right.
And F1.
So yes, and I don't think she's really particularly picky. I think if Wyoming looks like Montana, then fine. She's
They are the
got this
same.
idea of a ranch style house.
Those are
and
not cheap.
mountains and whatever. Oh, I'm aware now.
Now.
But so
You're
I'm just like, yeah,
there's no big city. It's probably $750,000 for a couple acres and a beautiful home.
right. No. So I was just like, no, that's the most. You've never even been to the state of Montana. We're not moving to Montana. So then I was at this event this past weekend, and I met this guy named Alex Waters who was working for this event. Do you know Alex?
Alex, yeah.
So Alex, he's an English guy. He's lived in the States for 10 years or something. He was telling me this story. He's like, oh, I'm like, oh, where are you based? He goes, oh, I'm actually based in Bozeman, Montana. And I was like, cool. What brought you to Bozeman? Well, I said, how long have you been there? And he goes, oh, just since April. I was like, oh, that's crazy. What brought you there? Because knowing the line of work he's in, it didn't really make sense, right? He's in racing and motorsports. And
I thought he lived in
automotive,
Colorado.
Nay. He lives in Bozeman. Maybe he did before.
His Facebook
he
still says Golden, Colorado, but there you go.
Well, that's definitely old because he's been in Florida for several years before this most recent move.
Maybe this is different Alex Waters. Is he a race coach, like a driver coach?
Yeah. Same guy.
Same guy. Okay.
So anyway, I honestly don't think he goes on Facebook. When was the last time you updated your Facebook? So
I mean, he posted August 15th a truck for sale.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he's making this story up, but I liked it.
Oh, it's for sale in Bozeman, Montana. That makes sense. There you go.
Boom.
I did my investigation. Carry on, James.
Your Instagram stalking.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, it's a funny story. We were road tripping somewhere, maybe been to Canada or something. And he said that we had to stop, we had to stop to just take a break. We were driving through Bozeman. So all right, we'll stop for coffee. And we ended up staying for 5 days. I was like, okay. Because they just loved it. Oh, let's spend the night. And they spent the night, and then they're spent a few more nights. And they stayed there for 5 days. Went did whatever they were doing. And on the way back through, they were thinking about we hate it in Florida. We don't like anybody in Florida. We don't like the weather in Florida. There's nothing. We just don't like it's just not our. It's not our world. It's not our people. This place seems awesome. So they come back and decide to just move there, and quits his job.
What, they just walk by the Sotheby's window listings that are posted up there and being
I guess.
we'll take that one.
I don't know. I'm probably getting some details wrong. So Alex, if you hear this, I apologize if I'm butchering the story. But the theme is what's important, which is they went there once for coffee and essentially never left. Just sold their stuff in Florida, moved up, packed up, moved to Montana. Now they live in Montana, and it's great. And he was telling me all the reasons that it's great and how great it is and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there and I was like, I'm the one yelling at Becky that like, you can't just pick up and move to Montana having never been there. And then this dude just like appears in my life and I meet him and he's like, yes, my wife and I just picked up and moved to Montana after never being there. And I was like, huh, go on. And so I tell Becky this story. This was probably a little premature, but I tell her the story and I was like, how crazy is that? So the next morning, as she's doing her morningly lying in bed on Zillow, she's looking at places in Montana. She's like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I love it here. She's like, how about this one? I'm like, yeah, that's gorgeous. Becky, do you see the price tag attached to that home? Oh, okay. Well, how about this one? I'm like, do you not see the similarity in the price tag on that one to the last price tag on that home? Needless to say, there was a 48-hour window where I thought maybe some crazy life change was going to happen for us, and we were going to move to Montana on a whim. I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
Let's find a cheap state and just get a compound for all of us. We'll just hang out.
We'll just pull all our money together. We'll get a couple acres somewhere. He said, you know what he said though? Because I was like, yeah, but flying out must be a nightmare, right? Because that's like my biggest issue with leaving Indy is it's the best airport on earth. And he was like, yeah, it sucks because you have to like connect to go most places because it's not a hub, but it's like not too bad.
Every place except Salt Lake City or Denver.
Dude, you got to connect to go anywhere from Indy
No,
other than hubs.
No, you don't.
You can go to Atlanta. You can go to...
You can literally go to Dallas, Austin, Denver, Chicago, New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Diego, Seattle, San Francisco. Shall I go on?
I don't know. I need to look at where you can actually fly out of. I didn't do the math on that.
Denver and Salt Lake. I promise. We were just in Jackson. Same.
And now that's it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I'd have to get a pilot's license then and do it your way.
You can't do that because very high altitude, a lot of mountains. You would need a plane that you also can't afford. So
can't afford it. If you can't afford to buy the house there, you definitely can't afford the plane there.
No, correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Becky. The dream is gone. We'll just like Airbnb a place.
Do you want to know where there's like nice places you can get a lot of land? Iowa.
Not really. So you have mountains?
No, but like screensavers.
Famously not, right? Like they're
Right. It's like Indiana flat.
yeah.
But cheaper in Indy. Yeah.
Yeah. All
I
right.
feel like there's a reason though.
That is true. Prices don't go down in really desirable locations.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. See you guys next week.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.